Oh yeah, thank you. There's a thumbs up, and you can always send thumbs up if you feel a little bit shy but want to ask question. You can. Ooh, there's like a thumbs up, like a background. That's new. And then if you want to ask question but feel shy, maybe you can write on chat. Then I'll make sure I'll read that too. So let me open the chat just in case. Anybody have a question? But like, yeah, if you feel comfortable, you can like ask me a question. Just to make sure, put audio on and then ask, and then I'll answer. So you guys ready? All right, let's do it. Let me share first. Okay. Okay. So, hi. My name is Un Kang. So I hope by the end of the workshop, you also feel comfortable pronouncing my name when you have a question. But if you don't, that's perfectly fine with me. And as I mentioned a little bit, I work and live Reno, Nevada. I don't know if you have been to Nevada or Reno. It's a little bit quite different from Vegas. Vegas is very south, hotter, and Reno is kind of closer to San Francisco, more mountain. I don't know if you heard Tahoe. It's very close to Tahoe, more Sierra Nevada. And this is my website and Instagram, and this is my email. Last time I had a workshop resume, some people didn't feel comfortable sharing during the workshop, but later they send me an email. So if you feel like that, you can do that too. Okay. So this Zoom session is about writing artist resume. Have you guys written artist resume? Like do you have one? Okay, I think I see somebody shake head. I can't really see everybody, but so that's good. If you haven't, this is perfect. Let's get started. So I'm gonna show you some of the things. You probably heard word like resume. What is an artist resume? So let's talk about that a little bit, and then we'll go the next. So like you pretty much write very, very succinct, kind of like clean, short way of writing your accomplishment. So maybe some of you can jump in and tell us like what kind of art are you a painter? Are you making any craft, fabric? Are you like a graphic designer? What you guys specialty? Anybody?
I see BC Granger has their hand up.
Okay, yeah, just say I when I share I can't really see. So
Oh,
just
okay.
jump. Oh, here,
Well,
chat.
hey guys, everybody. My name's BC. I'm a theater artist and musician.
Okay, perfect. And then filmmaker, digital artist. So I think we have very, very diverse group of people. Anybody else?
I'm a musician.
Um,
Sorry. Was it who was it?
I'm sorry. My name is B, and
Uh-huh. Hi,
I'm a
B.
hi. I'm a musician.
Okay, musician, glass art, a painter. Ooh, and picture painting. I love it. Um, Painting, digital, and fiber artists. Okay, some artists and music, maybe like that. I didn't ceramic, jewelry, visual performing artist. Okay, that's very good. Okay, so I didn't really write a lot of music, but I can also talk about some of the music, like the resume I've seen. Like, I think they have different kind of categories, so we can practice that too. Okay. Yes, perfect. And anybody else before we go to the next? Painter, sculptor. Oh, author. Okay, I'm gonna talk a little bit about writing part. And then diamond painter. What is it? Like, are you painting diamond or are you painting with the diamond? Which one? I love it. Anybody else? Okay. All right. So it's normally very succinct. Hang on, diamond or acrylic and resin beads. Okay. Theron music, perfect. Yeah, so fiber art. Ooh, I love fiber art. And then ideally for specific purpose. So think about why are you writing resume? Like you want to have a general resume no matter what. If you want to run into like a more professional, like have a professional career, but do you think you eventually want to apply for like fellowship? Do you think you want to apply like gallery exhibition? Is it going to be submission or commission base? If it's a music, like it could be like a venue, like a festival, fairs, or like what kind of performance venue are you thinking you want to apply? Okay, yeah, that's what I thought because that's GCAC the grant the and then so yeah, I think like let's think about like a grant writing. Like they usually ask you for a resume and then like how do I even get started? Okay, and then when you say resume, have you heard the word CV? Sometimes they say CV, sometimes they resume, and sometimes they ask you for a CV, and then they sometimes ask you a resume, and then how is that different? Like, do I need to be I do have a two different set of like resume and CV, and I'll show you an example. So this is a more of like the artist resume, like as a like artist kind of venues and grant and things like that. But if some of you ever want to apply for job related, it gets a little bit different. Um, so this is the example of my CV. So usually my information. And then we'll go through details. So I'm just gonna like show you, okay, usually like address, like phone number, email, website. Nowadays people use like social media, but usually for CV, I don't really write social media, just email and phone number only. And then education, and like usually like this is a job, like what kind of job have you had? Like have you been working as like a manager? Like if you're a graphic designer, like what kind of graphic design have you done? So it's more of like experience of as a job, whereas like a resume, um, like it starts with your information, but also like education and just start with your recognition, achievement as an like artist in your field. So for example, I'm gonna explain also some of the details, like have you got any fellowship or awards or exhibition records, and some of the things you think is strongest of you as in like artist career, you that comes first. So it's a little bit different between like resume and CV. Um, so like artist resume, like a visual artist. So I usually start with my information and education. I start right off of solo exhibition. But like for example, like writer, that could be different because you might not have exhibition, but you have a writing. Usually from what I know and then what I see with the writers writing CV or resume, they go like a publishing, like is it a book? Are you a sole? Like are you the like sole writer? Or do you have a co-writer? Are you a main writer? Or like is it chapter? Is it like essay, or is it like just a part of like a magazine? So it just gets a little bit different. And then also music, was this music venue, what's the most significant achievement as a musician or performer that you have achieved? So, for example, if you are applying for grant, um, I don't know their guideline. I haven't seen the guideline specific for GCAC. Just to pay attention to the guideline. I'll just go through all the details, but like, is it 2 page? Sometimes they say like make it to only 3 page. Then you have like 8 page, but you really have to go through some. And some of you who are beginning might have like 2 lines. That's fine. Like that's how I got started. That's how everybody starts. But then like, how you order them. What's more important achievement? And then go from there, you can think about like, okay, I want to build, maybe I need more shows. Maybe I need more venues. So you can kind of start thinking about how you want to build um, your resume too. So this is kind of how resume will look like, and hopefully by the end of this session, you will all have something like this. Okay, let's see. So I have some tips, and let's go through that. So when you write a resume, you probably saw my artwork is not like my resume. And for my resume, I'm just only showing very clear list of what I've done, not necessarily like, you don't want to put your glitters or like, I don't know, like whatever, like you don't want to put like all this like you love red. It's not the time to bring that kind of your taste. It's just really like documentation of what you've done. So make it like super simple and straightforward. Even like a font, find more like a most kind of used font. I like personally Calibri. It's very clear. This is what I'm using right now. It's clear. Some people go for Arial. Um, some people use like a lot of people use what's a Roman. That font also widely used. And I used to use that font until somebody from like grant writer, and then I think it's a personal preference, and that person who read the grant said she did not like that font. So I kind of stopped using it, but I know Calibri Arial is an example of like it's so widely used and it's easy to read. So always choose a font that's so like anybody can read, not like Gothic, like it's not the time to go like that kind of like things. Um, yes, like normally you don't want to use a color font. Like you love pink, your favorite. It's not the time to bring that like your personal taste. Um, Paper. I just put a little bit of background in the PowerPoint presentation, maybe, but like resume, anyway, like your achievement should show first more than anything, like not color, like no design, not much. Sometimes I see graphic designers' resume, they have some taste to it, but still I can see their achievement first. So if you can pull that off, like you can still show your kind of graphic design quality, but like that really is the secondary. You can do it. But like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like your recognition, achievement should come first before anything else. Does that make sense? Um, okay. And then font size, you don't want to use like 6, like nobody can read. Um, if it's a more than 12, like 14, 18, and you have like 12 pages, that's crazy. Sometimes I put like my name a little bit bigger, but still like I always use between 10 and 12. And that's usually a standard. So keep that in mind. Um, and then we're gonna do more specific also when we do practice. And usually it's the list should be reverse chronicle order. So kind of most recent to like the oldest. So I don't know if you remember, we'll go back and look, but like education, I used my most recent education to like my like kind of the last one. And then if you have any performance or like exhibition, like craft fair, workshop, we'll go some list. But then like if you've done it just recent, you always start from there. Okay? That sound good? Okay. And then there's some list you might have might not be necessarily like I could think of a collection like art collection or gallery affiliation might not be necessarily like this like a chronological order. It's not necessarily year. Then go with alphabetical order like A to like Z. Um. And depending on your strength and depending on what you're applying, the list also could be rearranged. So don't like once you have the basic example, you can always go and change. I change my resume at least twice a year, and depending on what I apply, I always change. But once you have a like basic standard, that gets really easy. Okay? Um And then when you apply, like, yes, I think this chat was great. Like, like some of you are applying for the grant, and that's when you just want to double check everything. You carefully look for like typo, spelling, even like sometimes I go for like a little spacing. Like you don't want to stand out for something like error. And I always ask somebody to like look and double check because you think it's a part. I always think like, okay, I have like no mistake. I don't make a mistake and like somebody comes like, oh, here, the second line, third line, fourth line. I'm like, oh no. And then like title is not italic. And then I was like, oh my God. And then sometimes they like somebody else can see mistake you made that you don't really sometimes see. So that's always a good idea to have somebody go through yours. Um, and then some of the things that you want to keep in mind. Um, Again, like I said, when you have a basic resume, then you have specific things that you want to apply. Like read the guideline carefully. They say submit 2 pages? Like sometimes they say not more than 2 pages. Sometimes they don't say it, then you can do whatever you want. Sometimes they say very specifically, like you have to enclose PDF. Then you want to like have a PDF. Or like if they don't, I'll go through that, like what kind of file you want to put in. You want to enclose document that anybody can open, you know? Like they can open with like whether PC, like Apple, Mac, whatever. Like I don't know, some of you might be interested in some venues, opportunity international. You don't know what kind of software they're using. So you want to make sure they should be like wherever you apply, you want these people to be able to open and see your resume. So that's kind of important too. Um, yeah, always update your resume. When you have a venue, just don't forget to update. I always write like a Word file. I have just a resume and then I update, but I always include any details possible that I might need because like I said, some of the guidelines they might ask you something very specific or different. For example, like some they actually ask you like what's the date that you like it's kind of interesting, but like date. But then you're like, oh, it could be like July, and then you just don't remember exactly date. So just like do specific things, and then like maybe if you perform or you had a show, but somebody cited or somebody took photo of you like in writing, then you might want to like keep that link that come in handy, like, hey, I my work was on this magazine, or my performing my music was this, like somebody cited in writing. Nowadays, like YouTube and like local newspaper. So th those are kind of nice. Here we go. So if they don't really specify, I usually go PDF. But if it's in US, I think a lot of time people might have a Word. More than likely they do have a Word, Microsoft Word, but PDF, wherever you apply, more than likely, like, I don't know, I can say 100%, but they should be able to open. So I always do PDF, occasionally Word. But I highly hesitant to use any other um, like a format rather than PDF. Word, I hardly ever use it. So just like be mindful of that. Okay, so practice. You're gonna write artist resume. Like we can actually write, but let's go through some of the things that you want. Let's think about the next one. Okay, the first thing you want to do information. What should be included in your information? Name, that's important. So I know some of the artists, they have their legal name or they have their like name, their last name changed. But then like then your artist name sometimes is different. So just choose the name you want to present yourself as an artist. Because I have some people they just have their completely different name when it comes to art, like artist resume. Then you want to think if you are a multidisciplinary artist, is it better to have a separate resume or um I so that case, okay, so let's say you're a musician, you're a 2D artist. You can have just a general resume of everything. That's what I would do. Cause like I'll show you some of the things. Like I am like mostly visual artist. Till I do different things. I like teach, but not my like teaching job related. I do workshop and then I go art fair, like a lecture and things like that. And I list all together. But then when it's like just a show exhibition opportunity related, I'll take them out. So that's kind of what I was trying to say. It's always good to have a general. And then, depending on what you're applying, you might want to take some out depending on what you're applying. So, for example, GCAC, is it categorized different, like whether it's a visual artist and then musician and performer, are they different category or is it all one? Anybody can tell me, then I can tell you more details.
I think in general, it's all one. Yeah.
Okay. Because I was a juror for GCAC, and then they advertise as a performer, music, and visual art, but they took all the visual artists separate, and then visual art juror was all from visual artist background. So I'm sure that's what's happening there. So although you apply all one, I'm sure the who is looking. And did you have to like click like category? I'm sure you had to do it. Otherwise, like they have no idea how to separate them. Because that's what I did that 2 years ago and I only look at visual artists. I didn't look at anybody else. So I'm sure that's what happened.
I could be wrong. So if anybody else has started an application to GCAC, speak up. But I have applied a few times and gotten a couple of grants through them. And I feel like there was no box to check. I feel like
Okay.
they just have you explain who you are and what you do and what you want.
Okay, so maybe they just go and see like manually separate. Also, there could be all different types of grant too. So that's why you want to read the guideline carefully. And then if they specify visual art grant, then you want to focus on that. And then if you're not, but if like let's say it's for everybody, that's when you have a general resume and then just include everything because you apply. But then B, maybe you can tell us a little bit. Do you remember what kind of grant? It was just like artists, or was it like sometimes there's like professional achievement and like project grant? They're kind of a little bit different.
I have applied for and been awarded. They might have called it something different when I first applied for it, but it's a non-competitive grant that's kind of rolling throughout the year. And currently, the ceiling on it is $750, and
Uh-huh.
it's called um, Funds for Artists. That's the one I'm
Okay.
applying for right now, actually.
Uh-huh.
And then maybe like 2 years ago, I applied for something that I think was called Artist Projects.
Right. Yeah. So project-based grant. And then some,
Yeah,
yeah.
but that one was also just like it's open to everybody, and you just have to
Oh,
explain, what you.
okay. Okay, so that's good to know. So let's say some of you apply for the first one, 700, was it $750 grant?
The one that is the non-competitive grant
Yeah.
that's what did I just call it? I have a hard time remembering those names.
Funds
Um,
for artists, I
Thank
think.
you. Funds for
One for
Artists.
artists.
That one is up to $750.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll probably like for first of all, like to respond that like first one. I'll read guideline clearly, and then it sounds like those are general, like mixed with the music and to the artist could work fine because they're not specifying it's 2D or artist. But that's when you can sell yourself really good, maybe. Like, how awesome is that you're a musician and 2D artist? So the way kind of you frame yourself, it might not be part of resume, but you can do that in your resume that like, I'm like performing as a musician, but also I do like 2D work. So that's when you can like make yourself like this awesome, like full of awesomeness. That's what I would do if there's no specification. For the second one, be applied that project grant. I think resume you can still include. Well, yeah, I think Rachel kind of mentioned multidiscipline artist. I think that's like kind of awesome. Like you can make that as I like I whenever I write about my work, like narrative, I always say I'm an interdisciplinary artist. I go from like 2D to installation. It's like I can do more than one. So that's like a really good selling point. So like if you're a multidisciplinary artist, I would just go for that, and then you can list on resume that like the kind of list of like achievement, like what you are capable of. But kind of going back to that second grant, if you're applying for project grant, you do that in your resume, which you will practice. But then I think it sounds like it will be really important what the project is about that is so standing out strong that organization want to give you out. And that's when you can still sell you as like I'm bringing all this different element to finish this project. That's why I need money. So yeah, if you're a multidisciplinary artist, why not using it? Just brag about it. This is like your time to like kind of like brag and make yourself like important in that sense. So yeah. But then if they say it's only 2D, that's when you can be a little like your music part be quiet. Or like if it's a music venue, maybe if you like really present yourself as 2D artist, like it's still great, but they might not be interested in like you as a part of their thing. So, but whatever you do, your information is always important. So make sure you write your name, like whatever name you want to use as an artist, and then go with the education and be really honest. Like some of you might not have like education. Um, like for example, my husband, he went to college, but he never like got degree, and then he just said. Like he say that in resume. So he's honest about it, and that's good. Um, the only thing you don't want to write, if you're enrolled and you're not done, usually that's typical, like you're not writing, but you know the graduation date. Sometimes they do it. But then also it depends what yeah, B said like yeah, sometimes depending on who your audience is, like who you're sending the resume. So yeah, that's important. Again, going back to education, like some grant, they say if you enroll in like degree, you cannot apply. Then you might not want to write that or you might not eligible. So I think it really depends. I've seen some people said like expect to graduating like if it's coming very soon. Then sometimes I've seen people writing that too. So I said exhibition record. Well, although your art has nothing to do with art, sometimes like I said, that could be your selling point though. Um, I'm working as an artist, but I also work at the university and I read a lot of application for like hiring university professors. And whenever they are coming from different background, I get excited. So I think it's still great. Like if you have a science degree and if you're a musician, how awesome is that? I think that could be your strength. So don't feel that's your weakness. Actually, that's your strength. That's like amazing. So you can still write it, but then let's say if it's like a grant, project grant, you can really link that to like make yourself like really different from anything else. I think like you can really, I think that's really great thing. So I'll definitely write that. Number three is exhibition record, but again, like not everybody will have exhibition record. So, um, I had a question. What about including picture of myself? That's really common in Europe and Asia, but not in common in US. So I would not do that. I think there's a reason, at least like from my field, that we don't want to look at somebody's photo and then have this kind of implicit bias. Like once you look at somebody, we just want to only look at the resume, nothing else. So that's kind of standard for US. How do I deal with the work history that's largely non-art related? Um, so if you're not an artist, this again, like going back to kind of like what you're applying. If you're applying for fellowship, I wouldn't include your experience as a known artist because they might not be interested in what you've done before. But then there's specific grant they sometimes give out um like grant money people who didn't have art education, like sometimes just a project base that you can actually use that as your strength, maybe. So I think it all depends on guideline. I'll go through some like some of the application they actually looking for like artists who can do some software. And it's not art related job, but actually you use those software in your job, then you can list that. So it depends. But again, like if you have all this experience, I'll just write everything. And then depending on what you're applying, I'll just like pick and choose. Because once it's there, it's like so easy to cut and paste whatever you have, ingredient you have. Okay, bibliography. I'm like I said, I'm gonna give you a list, and I'm sure there's a things that I don't list that you have that record, and then like we'll include that. But I just included everything I could think of. Let's say like grant award fellowship. So for B, like you already have two grant, and you can write that. And it's not the most important information. Education maybe that should go first. Everything else doesn't have to be like what should come first or next. Just most important significant achievement can always go first. Collections, if you have like work somebody bought, like I don't know, like schools, organization bought it, like you commission. I don't some of you might do like murals or like if you're five artists and things like that, you can do commission, like residencies. That this is something I didn't include. Like if you're a musician, like event, like there could be some kind of event. Um, art fair, like craft fair, whatever the fair you participate, you can include that. If you have given like a lecture to specific group of people, you can include that. Like if you have taught an hour workshop, a day workshop. I've seen some artists list workshop they attend to. So if you have like more than 2 pages of resume, that's not ideal. But if you're starting, like to show maybe a workshop, you learn some skills from there, then you might be able to include that too. And then you could use it depending on what you're applying. Um, okay, let's go a little bit specific. So when you say your information, your name will be important, like I said. Otherwise, they wouldn't know who you are, and then they wouldn't know who you call. Another thing actually I didn't include nowadays they ask you to write is like a pronoun, like a she, he, or they. Like I think some organization actually ask you to include that. So if they don't, you don't have to, but they like some organization might like ask you, then you want to include. Um, you can do all uppercase or bold, combination. But like I said, just make sure they're legible. People can read your name. Oops. Hang on. I want to go back. How do I go back? Phone number. They could maybe they want to reach you, call you. Not likely, but sometimes they do. Email that you regularly check. Don't give them email you never check. Because sometimes that also happens, like we email, and they never respond, and later said, "Oh, I don't use their email." I'm like, then why did you give me that email? That's not professional. Um, what do you mean portfolio link? Is it on website? Is it online? And I think portfolio link online could you be used as a website.
I think that's a great idea, just putting my 2 cents in there. If you have one of those online portfolio,
Yeah, I think so. How important the current website? It also depends. Like, if you're applying for a grant, like a fellowship, like I said, I did jury 2 years ago. I would not look at their website. I'm solely looking at what they applied. But when I'm looking at candidate for a job, I would think it's a little bit weird if like a visual artist doesn't have a website. So it all depends what you're applying. Um, so yeah, if you have a portfolio link, that's a website, I think. Although it's not like website looking page, like people can link. I'm like, oh, this person did this person did this and this and this. So that could work. Um, Address. Sometimes they want to send you congratulations. Well, usually now a lot of time people do like email, but they might want to send you a congratulation letter or like document to sign. Um, I- People used to send out like rejection letter. I actually have like a folder with the rejection letter, not to so I could look at it and like make myself sad. Just like sometimes you apply so many, you don't know like whether you got the rejection or not. So I collected them for a while, but then they stopped sending. So like, like address sometimes, website, like yeah, that comes in handy. Not always needed, but it could be good for some application you're applying. I don't include any of my social media, my job, and I don't see anybody. But if you're applying for like gallery where like they need promotion for artists, like they might want to come to your Instagram or I don't know, what do you use, like Thread? Like I I try not to use too much social media anymore. It's just too crazy. But still, that presence sometimes is nice. And I know a lot of gallerists and people, they come and look at my social media site. And they look at what I post, they look at it. So, for art related, like if you're a musician, if you have an Instagram page, if you're a performer, they come and look what you're doing, like where you're playing. I think that could come in like that's like nice. So I would include that. Okay, education. Let's get into more detailed education. I think somebody asked questions like what is not related. I think still that's worth it. That sometimes makes you more unique. Oh my God, you didn't get education in like visual art and you're making visual artists. How authentic are you? And like sometimes like you get that and I don't know if anybody look like, yo, this person didn't get an art degree, so this person doesn't deserve. I don't know if I have seen any case like that. So I always would include that. And when you include, first thing you want to write and like kind of when you first start, just use the first far left and then year you receive degree. And I usually do like actually whole time, but you don't have to. The year you graduated, you can write that. And then academic degree you receive like a BFA, MFA, name of a school that you went to. What else? I think that's about it. Try not to. Okay, so here's the example. So see, I listed like 2003, 2006, but you can just say 2006 and you graduate from Cal State Long Beach, California. And I got MFA, but I just list everything like a Masters of Fine Art. And then well, here's the thing I should have done better on my resume. Now I'm showing you mine. I probably still write Long Beach, California. Although it says California State Long Beach, I'll still write like city and the state. Um, and then some of the tips, like I wouldn't do like, people say, where did you go to school? And then I say Cal State, like CSUULB, and then people in California knows, people like maybe some West Coast knows, oh yeah, Long Beach. But then how on earth would other people know if I say it? So I think in resume, it's always nice to kind of write, like kind of spell out the institution you went to. So, just be generous to people who read yours. That's nice. Okay, so everything good on like your name and education? Any other question? Let me know if you do. Okay, let's start exhibition record. I just use that only because I go with that one first. But like I said, if you're not really exhibiting, like your work is about performing, that should go first. If you're a writer, that's like your most significant achievement, then that should go first. And some of you, I don't know if any of you in this group you consider yourself artist, but you're like community based. So your work is not about like just showing your work, like look at my like beautiful like masterpiece of my art, like actually like participating with like um kindergarten, like I don't know, some of you do like a prison artwork, like like disability, like all different kind, like that's your most significant achievement. That just should go first. So all the list, like it depends what you're doing, but whatever you do, usually year comes first, like far left. You start with the year. What year was it? Was it 2026? But like I said, it's like most recent to the kind of last one. So write that in the title. So if you performed, did it have a title? Well, the last week I went to performance and the band was the last, what was oh, they were amazing band. They're hip hop band. Um I'll go with the details, but yeah, first thing, you just want to show ear. And then if you had a title venue, so the venue I went, music last week, also part of Art Town. We have Art Town in July in Reno. So it's Art Town. So title of exhibition, like title of the venue you write. And usually those title is come to like italic. And then name of gallery or venue and location, city, state, country if needed. Um, for the state, you can write Ohio. Also, you can write like OH. Like sometimes I write to spell out Nevada, but sometimes it's too much. Like said, we'll get to the month or date, and then it's just like too long for like one event. I just go NV, like Nevada, short for like Nevada. That's fine. If you perform or show your work outside the country, definitely want to list that because that will look kind of cool. Let's say the month, sometimes I even list the date specifically, but usually after all these. So that goes at the end. I sometimes include, I don't sometimes include. Sometimes they want to know, like for a workshop, I include like what date actually I taught, or like if it's a published publication, there was a review, what magazine, what newspaper, like when it was published, I will list that. If you're a performer, you might want to list actually like date and month too. But for the gallery exhibition, like they might not be necessarily interested in like exact date and month, then I would exclude that. But that's what I was saying that at the beginning, I always include like specific date and duration, my general resume. So if anybody asks, I know like when that was. Otherwise, I'll never remember exact date, and I have to go through all my calendar. So my general resume, I always have that. So I know when that happened.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Um, So, since I'm a musician, my whole list is they're all performances. So
Uh-huh.
I think probably the date does matter, but it
Uh-huh.
feels awkward. It seems like it would be awkward to put the year and then put the date at the very end of that line. Can't I just start off with the date or?
You could, but like I said, like you want resume to be very, very succinct, kind of
Uh-huh.
organized. And for like I've done that way with mine, and then I'm looking at all these other people. Like I've read a lot of musicians' resume too. So it's more of importance of it. Like they just want to make very clear, just like more of like succinct, like clear organizing kind of resume. So if all
Uh-huh.
the years comes all at the same time, they're like, oh, this year they had this. And then if they want to look at date, they do. And they actually present a little bit better visually that way. If you
Okay.
have too like a long like date at the beginning, like
Mm-hmm.
like just visually, sometimes it's might not be as appealing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you're probably going to show us an example, I'm wondering about the punctuation along the line. Like, should we use commas or, but maybe you haven't gotten to that yet.
Well, I did not include that, but that's a good question. I can go back and kind of show mine. Like I usually do comma. So, also punctuation, I don't know. Like I've been looking at a lot of resumes for like not just visual art, like music. I don't think they use a lot of different punctuation rather than comma. Just like say, okay, city and things like that. So I think it's just like short and clear. So people can just like anybody who is not even your field and say, okay, this is this and this is this, this is this. I think that's kind of important.
And the one, and just that one thing should be in italics, the name of the venue.
That's usually what people do. Yeah, I think talking about that thing, like sometimes they do, what do you call those? Like it's kind of the marks, like the italic usually work the easiest.
Okay.
So and but then like it's not like law. You will not get anything if you do. And if you like really come up with some formula that actually it looks like really clear and you can do that, then go with it, go for it. But I'm just like looking at just perspective of like what's visually most kind of clean, and people can just like look, and they don't know anything about you, and they can go through like boom, 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 and see what your achievement is. So, yeah, I also teach and I tell my students like just this is the basic guideline, and if you can cheat, if you can like spread out, if you can like do like create something that nobody thought about, go for it if that works. But just to make sure in terms of resume, just like make it really clean and clear.
I'm so sorry. I just realized I have one more question about
Oh, that
this.
that's fine.
Okay, so for some
Mhm.
of my performances, it's not just, well, I have some extraneous information that I'm wondering
Mhm.
how much it matters. So like I have three different things. One is sometimes I have a whole band performance with my
Mhm.
band that's always the same, well, currently the same members. But throughout history, it hasn't always been the same members. But
Uh-huh.
either way, whole band performance or some other performances are just solo performances where it's just me. And then there's other performances where there's the name of the venue, but there's also the name of the group that I'm with because I got contracted to like do a collaboration or to be part
Uh-huh.
of a performance that somebody else is putting on, that it's kind of like their show and I'm the
Uh-huh.
musician for their show, but I'm not like it's not so much like me be, it's more like
Uh-huh.
I'm like the live music for their show.
You
So
know,
when
to
writing that on a
yeah.
resume, like what do I mention the name of the company? Like it's for me, it's always puppets. It's like well, not always puppets. So it might be like like a performance art group, for example. Like, do I put their name in there after the venue or?
To tell you the truth, I only look at the musician resume, but I have not written myself because I don't perform. So I don't know what's the most important thing or like not as significant achievement. So if anybody in this Zoom meeting who have done know more, I'll be happy to get that advice from anybody. But usually like I know solo is considered as like kind of more important. Um and then like if it's an event and you or your team was only part of it or like like I go through sometimes follow Coachella and then they always said, "Oh, do you know Coachella like in out of nowhere in California and all these musicians and perform and then all these people go to that Coachella concert." And then like who does beginning? Like that seems like that's like a kind of important.
Right, yeah, and like
Yeah.
I forgot about that. There's also festivals. Like I'm about to do a
Uh-huh.
performance for a festival, but the festival has different venues that they're using. So there's like a venue,
Yeah.
the specific venue I'm playing at, but then there's the festival, the overarching festival that I'm playing for, and then there's also like if I ever open up for somebody whose name is pretty big, like that should be in there, I think.
Yeah. So like this looks like who is starting and then yes, right. Like it's not your main, but like you're starting for like big name artists, also that should go. But if you're a main, I think that's also really significant. So I don't know all this like chronological order, but like I think like a solo main should go, I think the top, but also like list everything if you participate in any of those. And then that's kind of what I was trying to say. Like some of your cases, like some event, you think that's more significant than others. So like it's the most important thing, just go first. And then BC wrote that yes, italic title are more preferable. And that's usually the case. They usually use the italic quotation resume unless you're listing more literally reference. So thank you. Thank you for that information. Oh my God, I thought that like, oh my God, what should I do? Only took 20 minutes, but it's already 4 o'clock, so let's go. But I think because you guys are participating, so I really appreciate that. And please don't feel you have to participate because I said that. I know sometimes I get really quiet, that's fine too. Um, and then like, like so B kind of respond to B's kind of question and comment. Here's some example. I put it as an exhibition, but it also can apply to you, like some of you who perform, kind of different ways to list it. So let's say like exhibition. And then let's say if you're like early stage, so well, I don't have a solo group, like all I have is like this, but then don't really make a category of like solo group like you can do just exhibition that works too. And once you have kind of like enough list that you feel like you can separate that, you can do that. I think that could apply to like in music venues, like if you're starting and if you don't have a lot, I'm like, oh, then just have performance or like venues or something. So you don't have to like categorize everything. And then, okay, so example, like again, I'm a visual artist, so just I'm like just my example would be 2020, and then you don't have to have a category of a solo group. You can just say solo exhibition, title Horizon, Shopify Fine Art Gallery, blah blah blah, and performing too. And like B mentioned, like if it's a performance, date could be important. And like I think you should write that like date, like what month, what date you perform to. Like a workshop you taught is really important. That's like one of your significant. You can write that too. And then kind of different way, you can say exhibition record, like, performance record. Then once you have enough, you can have like solo exhibition, group exhibition, or like main performance. I don't know how musician categorize, but I think B can explain like, like was it kind of intro for a main event? Then like if you have more than, I don't know, enough, you can kind of separate that so people can actually read a little bit better. Again, going back to the principle, what is the best way for people who don't know you at all can see what you've done very clearly? That's kind of thing. Um, yeah, like I read a lot of grant too, and I read like a grant from like all different area, and I have no idea what they're doing. But if they can explain to me why that's important, I think that's what it matters. So resume, like think the same thing. Like they don't know you at all. Then how would you show your achievement the best? So like always go back to the core. That's the most important thing. Then like you can like if you have so many, oh my God, I can't really write everything I've done. That's when you can select it, like exhibition performance. So you can change slowly to like altogether to some of the categorized to like really selected one. So you can slowly change. Okay, little tip. It's a curated juried. So like kind of go back to the principal question, like for visual artists, if it was curated and juried, and they had a curator or title of institution, you can list that. But let's say if you're a musician, like there's an organization they host, you want to list that. If there's some kind of performance venue, somebody had like directing it, then you want to like list the name of a director who directed it. And then if you are the one who directed it, that could be a little bit different because you are the one. And then I probably put that right on the top. So again, like, there's the ingredient, but it really depends what you're doing. Like you can really do it differently. So exhibition record or like screening performance. You can do instead of solo group. So just depending on your field, you can change that. You might have some kind of collaborative project. Is it just you who did everything, but is it collaborative? Did you collaborate with artists, scientists, musicians? So some of the you mentioned like you're multidisciplinary. This is when you really can sell. Like, look what I could be, what I'm able to do. This is what I'm capable of, and that's where you like brag. Very, very clean and clear, but like that's when you what you can do. Like you did co-creating, co-organizing, co-directing, like you contributed, that you can list that. Um, so like again, like I'm a visual artist, for example, 2023, there's exhibition scene in all that space in Seoul, South Korea, in collaboration with like this artist, this artist, this artist. So if it's like a music performance, you can do something like that. Bibliography, any reviews, articles, interviews, books, catalogs. So for me, I don't write, but it's really privileged if somebody else mention my name, my art. So for you who don't write, but somebody write for you, like definitely include that. Make sure you get the link. If it's just a printout, make a copy and make sure date that was published. That's when date comes also can be important depending on what you're applying. Articles, reviews, sometimes catalogs. If you are a writer, that's a little bit different. I think it goes like, are you or like main author or a co-author? Is it whole book? Is it a chapter? Is it a magazine? Is it an article? Is it published? Where it's published? And if it's a chapter, what page was it? I think also that should be included. I wish I had more information about you. I could have done much better because I don't write myself, but I read a lot of their resume, so I do have a lot of examples. But still, like when it comes to resume again, like I'm like emphasizing over and over again. Not that like year might not be the most important thing, but like, just make it very, very clean and kind of organized, like year, title, review, interviews, articles. And then if you're not the one who writes and somebody else wrote it like about you, about your work, about your performance, you wanna include who wrote it and where was it published? Like was it newspaper, online link? If you don't have an online link, always download and save them. And I say that because I learned my lesson. Somebody asked them like, oh, and then I was like, I wish I save and like all the link. So always save them. Like again, like you should have your general resume, and then just like there, just put any information you might need, and then you can always clean up and then again, like when was it published or a date or a month or date and month also can be important depending on what it is, what you're applying. And like I said, like it was like a chapter or a magazine, you might want to also include page because they might want to go and look at it depending on if you're applying for a grant, more than likely they're not going to, so you might not want to include that. But like some application or jobs, they actually might want to go and look at it. Some of the application we do go and look at the page, make sure they actually did it. So but again, like general resume, always include that. So if you need it, just you have it there.
I have
So
a question
yes.
about that. So this would be like an article talking about us as artists, right?
Are you an
an
artist,
interview?
Robbie?
I'm a painter, yes.
Painter, so you're not writing. I don't write either. So for you, like if anybody mention your name or your
Mm,
art in any like reviews or magazines, online link, or like
mm,
you're in group exhibition and they use your painting, also that's good publication. So I always
okay.
would save that. But let's say you had a show and somebody came in and wrote a review about your work, then you always keep that too. So yeah, I don't write myself. So
Mhm.
I don't have my own well, I don't write, but I make an artist book and sometimes they consider it as like a book, but I like not like writing, it's like all the like images in it. So it's not, I'm
Well,
not,
I have written more than 100 articles online.
uh-huh.
But it's a website that was great for a period, like for 12 years, and now it kind of is shutting down. So some articles are still up there, but I'm not really including that, or I
Uh-huh.
might mention it. But
Well,
what
if
I'm
you, yeah,
my question is like if I had an interview
uh-huh,
that was published online,
uh-huh.
that could be something to, or I had an article about me, but it was about the fact that I am a gallery director and curator. It was not about my art per se.
Then you can have, I will go through that. Then you can have another specific category about curating.
Mm. So
So yeah, like
I'm trying to understand, is it embarrassing if it's a local magazine? It's not something like nationwide, it's kind of a local thing.
well,
Should I just skip it?
it depends. If you have too many, you can skip it. But I always say publication is publication.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Tracy said, it's press. And if you're applying
That's-
somewhere different location, I wouldn't know if it was a local, if it's not as important. Still, it was a publication. They
Okay,
your
I was
name
on the
is
oh yeah, I was on the cover, but it
yeah.
was my face was on the
Yeah.
cover, but it was a very local
You know,
paper, I mean magazine.
I know the theory, and I'm not one of those who can really brag about myself. So as a person who can really brag myself, like I'm not one of the self promoter.
Mm,
But if you can do it, why
all right.
not?
Okay. So I
If,
get because in my mind I'm thinking
uh-huh.
if I'm applying for something as a curator of a show, that could be I would not include it for my own art as an artist because it was more about the
That's
fact that I was
correct.
a
Yeah, if
curator.
you're applying for curating,
But then it's not too embarrassing if press is press. That was my
that's
question.
yeah,
Okay.
remember, like take a screenshot of that press is press.
All right. Thank you.
Take picture of that and then remind yourself. Okay. Well, publication as an author. If you're a writer, again, like, Robbie, that might apply to you if you apply for something different, like your own writing, even like blog. Some people like write on resume. They wrote on blog, they like listed on their resume. So if you have those online, oh my God, just brag about it. Who cares? It's local. Um, And also think about that. Maybe it's a local, but if it's online, somebody out of town might be reading it too. So it's not that local like you think. Don't you think? Um, but again, like going back to kind of principle, like year, title of your writing in italic, where was it published, company, magazine, website. So for your case, Robbie, that was a website and list that. And nowadays there are a lot of webs like online publication. Not everything is printed. As a matter of fact, like hardly anything is printed. So like page number if you do, but if it's online, maybe like, it's like different date. Sometimes they publish different date. So like if you want to list the date so people can click the date or month, like, like volume 11, like the month of June or something so they can go and look at yours. You probably want to include that. Uh, oh my God, I only have a 14 minute. No, we have to do it again. Okay, so grant or fellowship. So B had a more than couple of like grant, year, name of organization, like award, grant, organization name. And then sometimes people write amount. A lot of time actually do amount and location like Columbus, Ohio. And then like I said, Ohio could be spelled like OH. Um, if somebody bought your work and it's collection, like it could be private, or institution, you can list that like a location, city. Like I said, this one doesn't necessarily have the date. This kind of one of those category, you might not have the date, but then go with alphabetical order. If it's a private collectors, that they don't want you to list on your resume, you may ask them first if you can list. Um, I know some of the people they do commission like for company and they sometimes come and ask like I can't really write the name. Then you shouldn't because they like specifically tell you they don't want you to include and you shouldn't. Um the list should be used for high profile public like so I mean like again like it's local not that sense if your dad bought it for you or like maybe it just like might not really work or like your friend just bought little work or like that might be collection so like think about that. Some of you might do commission um for like a magazine illustration, mural, What else? Like a painting. Some people do a commission painting, right? Then also you can write name of institution, organization, and location. So for example, like 2019, Best of Northern Nevada 2019, like 10 illustration. Oh, I'm sorry. Um, and then again, like in the regular, like general resume, just list everything. And then if your field is about commission, let's say you do so much commission, you don't do solo like events, you don't do anything like solely like you're commission-based artist, you can also separate like public, corporate, and private and things like that. I don't have a lot of commissions, so I can just commission and like list two, three. But some of you might have a lot more than some others. Then you can like kind of make into a little bit more detail. Um, like residencies, if you have had any residencies, you can do year, name, residency, location, and usually you list duration for the residencies. Um, art fair, craft fair, and then if you're not necessarily showing art, but like you're performing, you can do like year, name, or art fair, location, also duration too. If you ever do like visiting artist lecture, you can also do year, title of lecture, and location. Workshop. If you teach, if you work with like little kids or like school student, but also like I mentioned before, it's not necessarily you taught, but you attended that skills that actually might be really interesting for the organization, you can still list it. I've seen people like attend and got skill, like learn like this and this. So other things on resume, related experience. So Robbie, like, so if you're applying for art, still you can have related experience, like creating as a, like writing it as a related experience. You can still list that depending on what you're applying. So once you have that, don't eliminate, don't think it's not as important, just like list everything. And it might come in handy. And then some of things like teaching experience. I think somebody asked, like, what about um like a job that's not related art, but I have like 9 to 5 job? You can list like other experiences if you like, just to put that on general, and then some of things you can include. And some of things that you apply, you might think like, oh, they might not be interested. You can exclude that. But sometimes like depending on what it is, like they find, oh, this person have this, did this. Like that's interesting, and they might like that. Like curatorial project, like gallery affiliation, client list, like if you have skill with Adobe, Microsoft, and some of things, sometimes I get really, I do admire people have, it's like people can do Excel. I can never figure it out, like, like sometimes that might come in handy. Like sometimes the certification you might list and they might like it. And then what else have I not list? Like I didn't list a lot of music venue, but we talked quite a lot in this. But tell me if there's anything I didn't really include that you want to know. So let's practice. It's not gonna happen because we only have 8 minutes. So ask me more questions if I haven't covered anything.
So I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I used to have a resume that on the side it has skills and it has like creativity, leadership, strategic thinking, things like that. Is that something that we want to include,
So
or
that's
it
what I
doesn't?
was saying, like in general, keep that, don't get rid of it because you never know when that's handy. Let's say
Mm,
fellowship, they might not be interested in. Not
mm,
that like they'll be like, oh no, they're not gonna go like like freaked out about it, but they might not be interested in if they're looking for like just visual artists or like project base. They might not be interested in like knowing. They be just curious what you're doing, like what you've done that like relate to the project you're proposing, you know?
Mm.
But then some other things like I don't know, like let's see, like they might be like some of the grant or some of the specific things you apply, they might want somebody who has a broad range of experience, had like a little bit leadership skills because they want this person to like run something like or lead something, then that could come really handy. Uh, should I list gift shop where my art is for sale on consignment? Um, you could. You can say my work is available. And then you can list like stores or if they you can have like if they have a website, you can like write the website. References, normally resume they don't ask references unless it's like some of the I apply for like kind of big grant, like big international grant. They if they want it, like they'll say it. Like please list 3 reference that we can reach out. Um, or like 3 people who can talk about your work. Otherwise, normally I don't include because like there's no reason they need to know what my references are. But if they do, they'll ask you. Then that's when you want to include that. So for me, I don't have that in my part of my resume, but separate sheets. On the Word file, I have a list of references I could use. So whenever they ask you, I just cut and paste as a part of my resume. So it's good to have the list just in case, but you don't always include those in your resume unless they ask. Okay, anything else? We have 5 minutes. No?
I have a
I
question.
actually, oh, sorry.
No, you go first because I've had a lot of questions. You go
Um,
first.
Tracy, go
so
for it.
almost all of the things that I have created have been for like local things, but I've never done. I've done one exhibition, one workshop. So my resume is pretty bare. Like,
Well,
is there something
everybody
I need to
starts from
provide?
there.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Like, I've been creating for a really long time, and I have tons of photographs, but of my work, but I don't really have like this extensive resume. I mean, is that a problem? Should I add a cover letter that explains that?
If they say include cover letter, that's what you can explain. But I think it's not like answering your resume question, but like I think that's good place for you. Like you made so much. Don't you want to show so other people can also appreciate what you've done? So this
I
is
do now.
yeah, this is a good time for you to think like where you want to go with it, and then I think local still is great. Um, I used to tell like young student like, oh, you have to go to big city, but now I'm thinking, I think it kind of changed. I really value community-based art. I actually participate a lot community workshop and like I like to be part of the community. So I think it really depends where you see your work is going. I think you can build, and you said you have like small show and workshop already. You have that's 2 lines. I remember the day I had to write my resume. I had like nothing, so I had nothing to write. And then when one came on, and I was so excited.
Awesome.
So
Thank you.
So, you know, like we all start from there. And then before you know it, it'll be like, oh God, I don't think I want to include it. It's too many.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, anything else? Well, I haven't really talked each of you, but I like just giving workshop like that. And then this session also was really great. A lot of you participated, and I wish I could meet you in person some point. Well, no, you never know. I remember some of the faces, and then I'll think, where did we meet? And like we might figure out we actually met on Zoom, or we may never figure it out. But I wish the best of luck with your career, where the stage you are. I see some of you are like more advanced, some of it early, but how exciting is that? Yeah, like small professional is great. Yeah, good luck to everybody and awesome. That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Bye. Bye. Thanks again.
Bye.
Thank you.